أين؟ مليح مليح، شكرا. عفوا. لا شيء، شكرا. بعدين شكرا. إيه شكرا، عفوا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear students, welcome to ITKI 6204, Sociology of Religion and Culture, offered by the IKI Academy, Institute of Knowledge Integration. My name is Dr. Omar Altalib, and I am very happy to welcome you to our class today on Sunday, August 7th. And this is the last month of our class. We only have, in addition to this class, 3 more classes. Our last day of class is August 28th. And inshallah, I'm hoping that all of you have been working on your research papers, which are due on the last day of class. But hopefully you have finished it or done most of the work by now, so that it will be easy to submit it on or before August 28th. Also, I want to thank you for doing all the assignments. The last assignment, assignment 4, I have indicated already in the Telegram list that I want you to write only 1 page answering the question, how does the idea of the Day of Judgment affect relationships in our religion and culture? Meaning the fact that Muslims believe in the end of the world, the day when everybody will be losing their life and then resurrected or brought to life back again, and then held to account for all their deeds, whether good or bad. So this idea that we will be held accountable, that there will be a heaven or a hell, how does that affect our relationships in the religious community and in our culture, our language, our heritage, our interaction? And so I want you to write only 1 page in response to this question, because as you know, the fact that there is a day of judgment means that we will adapt our behavior based upon this notion that we will be held accountable. So talk to me about this this idea, this question. Now, originally, this was linked to the request from Dr. Elmira to get as many people as possible to participate in the graduate conference that will be held in Istanbul, that will address this question of the Day of Judgment. And I encourage you to use this class assignment to submit it also to the conference, but it's not required. I'm not making it part of the assignment to submit the paper to the conference, but Dr. Elmira and IKI Academy, is encouraging everybody who is interested to do that. It will be fully paid, and the conference promises to be a very interesting conference in Istanbul. The details were sent by Dr. Elmira, and so this is something that we encourage you to do. But participation in the conference is voluntary. It's up to you. But for me, the assignment is just answering this 1 question for assignment number 4. And so today I would like to go into the readings that I asked you to read. As you know, we have 3 scholars, Dr. Ismail Farouqi, Dr. Taha Alwani, and Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman. During these last few class meetings, we will discuss their ideas, particularly in relationship to the sociology of religion and culture. Does anybody have any questions so far at this point? Any issues, any concerns, any criticisms, any thoughts, any response? Okay, at any time, of course, you can interrupt me, and also you can message me through Telegram or WhatsApp. Beginning with Dr. Al Farouqi, who we have already discussed, but let me wrap up the discussion by focusing on his emphasis on Tawheed, unity, the fact that there is one creator, one God, and that this creator exists and has attributes. We know from the Quran the 99 powers, attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he extends this notion, Dr. Ismail Farouqi, to knowledge. All knowledge is interconnected, it's part of one whole, and each field of knowledge is interrelated with other fields of knowledge. So Dr. Al Farouqi was against this division between Islamic sciences and modern sciences. He wanted to integrate everything, and we are continuing this project in the IKI Academy, Institute of Knowledge Integration. Dr. Al Farouqi had established the International Institute of Islamic Thought in order to achieve this objective, to bring Islamic sciences and the modern sciences, or the so-called Western sciences, together, connect them, make them relate to each other, have them integrated, so that the background and the scientific orientation of Muslims is complete, not cut into two different parts. What we learn in Islamic sciences affects our understanding of the natural sciences, and what we learn in the natural sciences supplements and reinforces what we learn in the Islamic sciences. That is what the project that Dr. Al Farouqi was hoping to achieve. He was also an intellectual giant. He learned Islam and Christianity and Judaism very, very in depth, and became a true scholar of all three religions. And then he emphasized the dialogue or the trialogue between these faith traditions, between these religions. He really wanted Muslims and Christians and Jews to have discussions with each other and to learn from each other and to build on the shared understandings that they have with each other. And then this was pursued by Dr. Taha Alwani in Washington, D.C., where he helped establish a consortium of organizations from the different religions to work together to solve many of the issues facing all our communities and all of humanity. So, what is the issue when it comes to sociology of religion regarding bringing the different faith traditions, the Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam together? What makes it a problem? What makes it? What are the difficulties that are involved? What is standing in the way? When we study sociology of religion, we understand, or we realize, that each faith tradition has a variety of communities that attach themselves to that faith, to that religion, and identify with it. And so you have differences between the communities themselves, differences in languages, differences in habits, differences in food, in clothing, in history, in the understanding of the world. So this is one arena where bringing these communities together, bringing the different religions closer to each other, has sometimes obstacles or things that need to be overcome. Uh, okay, so That is one challenge. Another challenge is sometimes there are people in each of these religious communities that see themselves as competing or as being in conflict with people in other faith traditions. So a Christian might say everybody should be a Christian, and will try to attract to their tradition people from Judaism and Islam. Sister Halima, you have a very interesting point here. You'd like to know if Muslims born in non-Muslims country are allowed to migrate into another non-Muslim country, and if it is a virtuous act. Right. So when we get into the sociology of religion, one of the issues is where can each faith community live? If you are a Muslim, where are you allowed to live? If you are a Christian, where are you allowed to live? If you are a Jew, where are you allowed to live? So this question for Muslims comes up when there's the issue of migration, which we talked about in the past. So if a Muslim is born into one country, can they go into another country? So from the point of Faruqi and his understanding of Quran, all of the earth belongs to Allah. Everywhere is God's earth, God's territory. And so we say in Arabic, Ardullahi wasi'ah, the expanse of God's earth is everywhere. And so going from one place that belongs to Allah to another place that belongs to Allah is not only okay, it's encouraged. The idea of traveling and moving and going to different places is part of the Islamic culture, the Islamic tradition, Islamic civilization. There is nothing that Islam says that prevents you from going. Now you have to be careful, because if you are going from a place where you can practice your faith to a place where they prevent you, then that is an issue. You should not go to a place where they prohibit Islam. But pretty much anywhere on the earth today, you have freedom to practice. Now, you might have some issues, as you know now, in China. They are persecuting the Uyghur minority. Part of it is because of the Muslim background of the Uyghurs. So that might be a place you should avoid, or North Korea, or maybe another communist country like Cuba. So those are exceptions. Otherwise, in general, a Muslim can live anywhere on earth, practice Islam anywhere on earth, but there will be different challenges in different places. Is it a virtuous act? Depending on your intention. If your intention is to practice Islam and to have success and to provide better for your family, of course. But if your intention is bad, meaning you want to sacrifice your faith for the sake of money or for the sake of being famous, then that's judged in a different way. Are Muslims encouraged to live where Sharia is practiced? Good question, because the real question is, where is Sharia practiced? Is there anywhere in the world where Sharia is practiced? By Sharia meaning the rule of Islamic law, the implementation of Islamic law. There's places that claim to practice Sharia, like Saudi Arabia or Iran, but those two countries are some of the worst places for Muslims, because there's so much injustice and so much incorrect understanding of Sharia and misunderstanding of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So where else would you consider a place where Sharia is practiced? Maybe Malaysia, maybe Turkey, possibly. But again, these are exceptions. There's no real place where a true understanding of Sharia is practiced completely. There's a wide spectrum. But our goal is not to necessarily judge a country by its Sharia, but rather we need to think about the civilization. Where can we have a situation where our civilization can be followed and implemented. Can Sharia exist vis-a-vis civil or secular laws? That's a very interesting question, and it's a legal question, and we try to understand that more in our Ijtihad Renewal and Modernity class. But the quick answer is sure. Because by Sharia, when Sharia is implemented, it goes through a school of thought. So it could be a Shafi'i, Hanbali, Hanafi, Maliki, Ithna Ashri. So all these different schools of thought that are different variations on implementing Sharia can coexist with one another and coexist with other types of legal systems. They could be Christian or Jewish or civil or secular. So it's still an issue that is being discussed in the Muslim Ummah. But the quick answer is sure, yes, you can practice Islamic law anywhere on earth alongside other legal systems that exist. So going back, and thank you for those questions, Sister Halima. So going back to our discussion, and please ask questions as we're going along. Bringing together the different faith communities can have some obstacles. Now, one of the things that facilitates the discussions between Muslims, Christians, and Jews is we have so much in common. If you look at the revelation to Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, the Torah, and the revelation to Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, the Injil, the Bible, and the revelation to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Quran. You compare these three books, most or a huge amount of the principles, the values, the beliefs, the teachings are the same. And it begins from very simple things like do not kill, do not steal, do not try to take away what doesn't belong to you, respect other people's life and property and dignity and honor. All these things, there are so many values in terms of courage and honesty and respect and trying to show a good example for others. So many basic ideas and principles and values are shared by these faith traditions and also other faith traditions as well. So there's a lot of things in common, and we can build on that. We can build on that to solve the major problems in the world, because the major problems in the world cannot be solved by only one community. Muslims by themselves cannot solve the climate crisis. Christians by themselves cannot end war. Jews by themselves cannot get rid of poverty. So working together to address these big problems that are facing all humans is not just important, but absolutely necessary and required. Not only because there's so many people in the community of Muslims or Christians or Jews, but because the ideas that motivate Muslims, Christians, and Jews are very much in common, and they are shared by most people in the world. So this is a good sign. What's the problem then? The problem is Muslims are not used to talking to Christians. Christians are not used to talking to Jews. Jews are not used to talking to Muslims. So there isn't much discussion, interaction, dialogue, trialogue coming together to address issues. There is a growing interest in this, and it's called in the United States the interfaith movement, where people from different religions come to talk to each other. Usually it's a representative. So for Muslims, usually it's an imam or a Muslim scholar, a sheikh. For the Christians, it might be a Catholic bishop or other representative, or a Protestant clergy person. For the Jews, it might be, a hacham or a rabbi. But it doesn't have to be a particular religious official. I have spoken about Islam in interfaith dialogues in the U.S. with Christians and Jews. And so the idea is to get this discussion to occur as much as possible and to overcome our differences. So, unfortunately, there are still some Muslims today, whether you want to call them fundamentalists or whether you want to call them extremists or whether you want to call them people who are closed-minded, and sometimes they are considered among the Salafi and Wahhabi groups and movements, such as the Taliban in Afghanistan. Number one, they're not interested in any type of discussion or dialogue with Christians and Jews, and they go further. They are interested in killing them, or they preach that you should fight them and you should force them to be under Muslim rule and control. And this is common for all the Muslim terrorist groups, Al-Qaeda, Daesh in Iraq and Syria, or ISIS, they also call it, and Boko Haram in Nigeria, and other organizations and terrorist groups around the world. The Muslim ones are, first of all, they're not willing to have discussions with Christians and Jews. Second of all, they're willing and they encourage to kill them and to fight them and to have conflict with Christians and Jews. They do not respect them the way the Quran tells us to respect the people of the book, which is the Christians and the Jews. They would rather, for example, if they see any Christian symbol or Jewish symbol, they consider it blasphemy. Any Muslim who comes into contact with it should destroy it. One time I had a business card from the college I was teaching at, and I was teaching at a Christian college, and the logo of the college had a cross on it. I gave the card with my name on it and my information to a Muslim. Immediately he took out a pen and he crossed out the sword, the cross. So for him, the most important thing was destroying a Christian symbol. It wasn't about discussion or dialogue or respect. No, it was about erasing and destroying and getting rid of anything that is associated with the Christian or the Jewish faith. A lot of Muslims will not allow the Star of David anywhere. You know, the six-pointed star that's, for example, on the Israeli flag. Many Muslims, if they see it, they will try to get rid of it or cover it up or do anything they can to make sure that nobody is exposed to it. Why? What is the issue? Why should we be antagonistic? Why should we be harmful? Why should we be hurtful? Why should we be hateful? And part of the reason, and this goes back to sociology of religion, is what we are taught. I don't know how many Jum'ah khutbahs any of you have been to or have heard. When I was in Saudi Arabia for 4 years as a middle school student, I went to Friday prayer every Friday. So that's 52 Fridays per year. And almost every time I heard negative things about Christians and Jews, and the Imam talking about the Jewish-Christian conspiracy against Muslims and the desire of Christians and Jews to destroy Muslims, to destroy Islam. So all this negative rhetoric, these lies that are spread by imams, by Muslim scholars, by leaders in the Muslim community, affect how Muslims think and feel. So rather than spreading love and peace, our leaders many times might be spreading hatred and a desire to destroy and to get rid of the Jewish and Christian communities. Okay, any questions so far? Good. Now you look at Dr. Taha Alwani. He made sure that in his writings and in his thinking, he also spread the idea of tolerance and acceptance from a Muslim perspective, and he used the idea of maqasid sharia, the goals of Islamic law. And there are 5 of them. I don't know if you've taken the course on maqasid or listened to the lectures on maqasid in the past, but according to maqasid, we are supposed to preserve 5 things, right? Anybody know what those 5 things are? We're supposed to preserve. We have to preserve life, right? We cannot kill anybody. We have to preserve faith. We should maintain our religious belief, our relationship to Allah. We have to preserve our minds. We should not take anything like drugs or alcohol that will destroy our brain, our ability to think. We have to preserve our progeny, our children and children's children. And we have to preserve property. Nobody can steal from anybody else. That's not allowed in Islam, and we have to respect each other's property. So life, religion, intellect, progeny, property. So these are the maqasid. Now, some people talk about it in different ways and maybe add or use different maqasid, but basically this is the idea that anything that is required in Islam has to be preserving one or more of these things. If it is not, then it will not be allowed in Islam. And if something doesn't affect any of these things, then it is halal, it is allowed. So when the extremists, like many Salafis and Wahhabis, tell you music is haram, Dr. Taha confronted them and said, does music destroy life? No. Does it destroy religion? No, because if you don't have to listen to it if you don't want to, and if you listen to it, there's amazing recitations of the Quran and qawwali music, praise of the Prophet, and nasheed and poetry in Islam. This is supporting Islam, not destroying Islam. So music doesn't destroy religion. Intellect, does music destroy your mind? Not really. I mean, there may be some very loud music, so of course you avoid the very loud music or the music that has bad words in it. Yes, you avoid that music. But music itself does not destroy your brain. In fact, it can help you think, and it can help you process information, and can help lift your spirit. Your children, does music hurt your children? No, it doesn't prevent having children and raising your children. Does music destroy property? No. So on what basis do the extremists say it is haram? They claim that the Quran and Sunnah says music is haram, but you look anywhere in the Quran, there's no verse against music. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ never prohibited music. In fact, he participated in the singing, the nasheed, we call it in Arabic, the popular songs, the folk songs, the cultural songs. So music is not against any of the maqasid. Therefore, it is halal. It's not haram. But yet some Muslims try to make it haram. They say music is haram, singing is haram, dancing is haram. And so this is in the category of making what is halal into what is haram. And this is absolutely prohibited in the Muslim tradition. So Dr. Taha focused on the maqasid, and he focused the goals of Islamic law, and he focused on bringing more dialogue between Muslims and Christians and Jews and other faiths in the United States, especially in the Washington, D.C. area. And he did it institutionally, meaning he helped create an organization that facilitates these efforts. And Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman also, he was very interested in reviving Islamic civilization, in renewing Islamic civilization. And one of the ways he wanted to do that is through education and through focusing on children, the upbringing of children, the parenting role. He put a lot of time and effort, and we wrote a book together, myself and my father, Dr. Hisham, and Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman, may Allah rest his soul. We wrote a book called Parent-Child Relations, which contains his ideas and his efforts to convince Muslims how to better raise their children so that they can be strong and they can be confident, and they can be uh, proud of their heritage without being hurtful, without being destructive, without being arrogant. So you can be proud of being a Muslim without having arrogance, right? There's a difference between associating yourself with Islamic civilization and its achievements and its accomplishments, and the great tradition that it has established, versus saying, oh, because I'm a Muslim, I am better than you. That is arrogance. That is what the Quran continuously warns against. The Quran always tries to tell us, do not be arrogant. You should be humble. You should recognize the great gifts from Allah, the miracles from Allah, and those miracles and gifts, if Allah makes you smarter or richer or stronger, that is a reason to be even more humble and to do more help to other people who are poorer, who are weaker, who are less capable. So these values that we talked about in our book are essential for a Muslim child to grow up with, to protect their whole religious orientation and also their culture. So there are a wide variety of Muslim cultures around the world, and in the sociology of culture, we talk about cultural interaction and cultural change. A lot of cultures are dying out. They're being destroyed, or the people who follow that culture are becoming less and less until it becomes zero followers of a culture. And we see this among, for example, Native Americans in the United States and Canada, where their culture has been under attack for hundreds of years. And now they are very, very small communities, and that their communities are becoming less and less. So their language is disappearing. Their great traditions are disappearing. Their knowledge of how to be more healthy using natural products, using things from the trees and the plants to make you healthier, all that is disappearing. It's going away, which for many sociologists like myself, that's a tragedy. But it's happening to Muslim cultures as well as some Christian and Jewish cultures. And so what we try to do in sociology of religion and culture is to preserve different traditions, different cultures throughout the world. And that is because the variety in religion and the variety in cultures makes humanity richer. So on the one hand, you have the extremists and the terrorists. They want the whole world to be only Muslim or only Christian or only Hindu. And then the majority is what people seek, and that is peace and harmony and understanding and love. So is the Islamic religion a religion and a culture of violence and conflict and death and destruction and domination, or is the Islamic religion and culture a culture of love and peace and harmony and tolerance and understanding? Which one is it, right? This is a question that every child has to be able to answer. Every child needs to be clear about this, okay? What is the major characteristic of Islamic civilization? Violence or peace? Love or hatred? And there are some people in the Muslim world, actually many people, who will tell you that actually Islam is a religion that requires you to go to war, to so-called fight the kafirs, to kill the unbelievers, to make sure Islam is dominant, and to spread Islam even if it means killing people or forcing people. And this is what the terrorist organizations do. They did it in Afghanistan, they did it in Iraq, they did it in Syria, and they did it in Nigeria and many other countries around the world. Muslim terrorist groups have tried to spread this kind of Islam, violent, hurtful, destructive, hateful toward other people and groups. Whereas if you look at the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, he was a person who promoted peace. He always wanted peace. He never wanted to go to war. Now, he did go to war when he had to, but only when he was forced to. He never made the first choice for himself and the believers to go to war. For him, war was the last thing, and it shouldn't happen. But if he was forced to, he defended himself, of course. And Muslims are required to defend themselves. So what's the problem? The problem is when you look at what children are being taught, and you may have faced this if you can recall when you were a child or not. But for example, when children are taught about the history of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu the seerah we call it in Arabic, the history, every child or most Muslim children learn about the wars that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was involved in. Battle of Badr, Battle of Uhud, Battle of the Khandaq, the ditch, and many other battles. So it looks like for the child that the Prophet was just fighting, always constantly fighting, where in fact these are the exceptions in the Prophet's life. Most of the time he was trying to have a situation of peace and stability and harmony. For 13 years in Mecca, he was preaching the Muslim creed, right? The Aqidah, the basic ideas of there is a God, God is only one, God has certain characteristics and attributes like love and like desire for harmony and like the great creation that Allah has made. So the Prophet was promoting for 13 years the creed, and his tribe, the Quraysh, the pagans in his tribe, the disbelievers, the non-believers, the idolaters, those who worshipped idols, those who followed paganism, many of them tried to stop him. They tried to torture him, they tried to kill him, and so he was in a very difficult situation in Mecca. But he did not have enough followers at that time, so he was trying to increase his followers. But then there came the hijrah, right? The migration to Medina. Then things changed. Then the number of Muslims became much more, and Muslims started to have the ability to defend themselves. And this increased over time. But the Prophet, if you look closely at his history, his sayings, his actions, they were always trying to promote peace. But most kids don't hear this, don't learn this. So for example, when you were children or the children that belong to you or your families, how many of them have read the letters that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sent to the kings and to the emperors and to the sultans at his time that requested a peace treaty? How many of you have read these letters or know children who have read these letters? Okay. I never knew about these letters when I was a child, right? Anybody know of these letters?
I did. Assalamualaikum, Prof. I was very blessed one because I grew up in 1960s in Singapore where we have vernacular education. So I was the last group, the last batch of young Singaporean who was exposed to Islamic history because we have Islamic religious knowledge in Singapore. I was from the Malay stream. But my contemporaries, my counterparts who were the English schools, they don't have that privilege. My children, they don't have, because by 1980s, there's no more vernacular education system in Singapore because previously we have Chinese, Tamil, English and Malay. So the Malay students who go to the Malay stream, they have one subject called IRK, Islamic Religious Knowledge, which have all the components, fiqh, Islamic history, which is, we call it Sirah, yes. But my children don't. So I think by 1980s, when we have national education system, our children are not exposed. That's quite sad, really. And so but fortunately, alhamdulillah, with my background, I do instill Islamic knowledge for my children. And after that, subsequently, when they grow up, they attend all these classes, But you're absolutely right. We know more about Mao Zedong, we know about samurai, we know about everybody, all other personalities except our own. Yep.
May Allah bless you, Sister Bibi Jan. Thank you for sharing that with us. So you made a very good point about what is being taught to Muslim children, to our children, and what is not being taught. For example, how many of you know about the Constitution of Medina? How many of our children know about the Constitution of Medina? Okay. Again, one of the most important documents in early Muslim history. Most Muslims don't know about it. It was a very innovative and amazing document that brought peace in the city of Medina. It used to be called Yathrib, okay, between the different tribes and the different groups in Medina. It was a peace treaty, and it was a signed document, which was very rare at that time to have something that made peace between people and was a signed document. And it wasn't until much later in history where we get famous documents, like in England, they have the Magna Carta, or in the United States, they have the US Constitution, or the Articles of Confederation before that, which try to bring peace between different groups of people. So these are examples of how Muslim children are exposed to the more conflict types of occurrences in Muslim history, and not much in terms of the peace and the love and the harmony that Muslims were contributing to the world. When we study Islamic civilization, a lot of times our children or other people are taught about who the political leaders were. For example, the Khulafa, the Khalifa, the people who came after the Prophet Muhammad, and then the Umayyad dynasty, Abbasid dynasty, the Mughals, the Ottomans, the great empires in Africa and in Asia, the Muslim empires. But we don't learn so much. So we learn about important kings and battles, but we don't learn so much about how Muslims were promoting peace, how they were promoting harmony, how they engaged in trade, in business, that established all kinds of good relationships with people around the world, how the very kind and loving attitudes of Muslims enabled Islam to spread throughout Southeast Asia in a very peaceful way, so that until today you have Muslims in Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Brunei, and other parts of Asia that came peacefully. There was no army that went there. And so these and other examples are part of Islamic civilization that Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman was emphasizing and was trying to show. And his background is political science. So he wrote his PhD in political science on an Islamic theory of international relations. And he is trying to show how to reduce war and disagreements and conflict between countries, which is very difficult. And one of the worst thing that can happen that humans do to each other, right? Sometimes we say bad words to each other. Sometimes we discriminate against each other. Sometimes there's racism. But the worst thing that humans do to each other is war, killing and destruction and massive violence. So this has been happening throughout history. Muslims also, unfortunately, in their history, engaged in wars, started wars, were involved in wars, but also did a lot to try to prevent wars, to stop them from even happening, to de-escalate the conflict, to find alternatives to war. Most children don't know about this. Most Muslims don't know about this. So the fundamentalists, the extremists, people like the Taliban and others come and share their rhetoric, and it's difficult for us to respond to them. That's why we need to read more from Dr. Abdul Hamid. And I specifically gave you his book to read about marital discord, the disagreement between husband and wife, because unfortunately, as he points out, there is a verse in the Quran that deals with situations of disagreement between husband and wife, and Muslim male scholars for over 1,000 years have said that this verse allows a husband to hit his wife. And Dr. Abdul Hamid looked at the verse very carefully, especially at the word that is used in the verse, فَضْرِبُوهُنَّ, and he said, this does not mean to hit your wife. There are, sorry? So this word has many meanings, over 20 meanings in Arabic. Many words in Arabic, as you know, have a lot of meanings. So only one of the meanings is to hit, but this is not what is meant in the Quran. The Quran uses this word throughout for in different contexts. So Sister Halima, you're asking a very good question, and that is, how can the wife be justified for ill treatment and negligence according to Sharia? So you have the husband who can be mistreating his wife and children, and you have the wife who can be mistreating her husband and children, which is not allowed. But the question is how to deal with it. Okay, if a husband is negligent or the wife is negligent, not doing their job, how do you deal with it? So according to the verse, you have to deal with it very carefully and in a loving and peaceful manner. And it involves first counseling and advice and discussion and trying to talk it over. And then if that doesn't work, then the husband and wife sleeps in a different bed. They don't have sex with each other. They sleep in different beds. And then if that doesn't work after some time, then the husband has to leave the house. This is what the word فَضْرِبُوهُنَّ means. In the Quranic verse, it means the husband leaves the house, exit. Okay? Or if the case that the husband doesn't respond and the husband is being negligent and doesn't want to leave the house, then the wife leaves the house. So there is separation. Okay? So these are some ways in which the Quran is addressing this social problem. The social problem of ill treatment, of negligence, which occurs all over the world, in all religions, throughout human history. It's nothing new, and it's not going to end anytime soon, probably until the Day of Judgment. But how to deal with it is key. And that's why the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, put such a big emphasis on dialogue and discussion. And if that doesn't work, you bring in other people, people from the family, elderly people, people whose specialty is conflict resolution, and the situation has to be worked out in a non-violent way, in a peaceful way, in a harmonious way, in a civilized way. Now, okay, everybody might agree with that, but then the question becomes, so why aren't Muslims doing that? Right? Forget about other communities, other religions. Okay, let's not talk about them for now. Let's talk about the Muslim community. Why are some Muslims able to solve their problems peacefully and harmoniously, and they have a culture of understanding and tolerance and working together, whereas other Muslims, other Muslim families, you see a lot of conflict and a lot of violence? Why? Where is that coming from? So when sociologists look at this issue, especially sociologists of the family, and that's one of my specialties, is sociology of the family, we notice a lot of interesting things, interesting facts, and that is that a lot of times the mother, the father, they unintentionally, they subconsciously, without realizing it, they model their behavior after their parents. Sister Halima is asking, is black magic recognized as a crime according to Sharia? Thank you, Halima, for that question. Quick answer is, yeah, all kinds of magic is not allowed in Islam. But getting back to our situation, we were talking about why do some Muslims resort to violence? And the sociological answer is a lot of times they are modeling their behavior after their own parents. So as they were growing up, when they see their father hit their mom, when they see their father yelling at their mom, when they see their father mistreating their mom, when they see their father abusing their mom, unconsciously, subconsciously, involuntarily, they start to get the same kind of thinking process and feeling process that they saw in their own house. So when they become husbands, they end up in many times doing the same thing to their wives. And for yes, social learning theory explain this. Thank you, Brother Hakim. And for mothers, again, as young girls, they see what was happening between their own mother and father, and then they either so you can either become a victim or a victimizer. Okay, both are problematic situations to be in. To allow yourself to be mistreated or to mistreat somebody else. To allow yourself to be abused or to be an abuser, to abuse other people. Both are a problem. So young girls, if they see their mom abusing their dad, they may end up becoming abusive wives. But if they see their mom allowing their dad to abuse their mom, then they may also grow up to be a type of victim that ends up tolerating abuse from their own husband or accepting it. Or it can come based upon a so-called religious basis. So they might hear or they might learn from their family or from their mosque or from the imam or from what they read or hear that in Islam, a husband can do anything he wants to his wife, can force her to have sex, can force her to stay in the home, can force her to cover all her face and body if she goes outside. So she might have heard that or be taught that, so she assumes it is part of Islam, and since she wants to be a good Muslim, then she accepts that. In reality, of course, as we know, these types of misinterpretations of Islam, extremist and fundamentalist and unacceptable types of thinking in Islam are unfortunately all over the Muslim world. So many times you might hear from preachers, from scholars, from imams that a woman cannot leave the house, that a Muslim woman has to always be subservient to her husband, has to always listen to her husband, has to always be covered up totally, completely. You cannot see any part of her body. These things that are not part of Islam, but they claim and they say, oh yeah, it's here in the Quran or it's here in the Sunnah, in the Hadith, when in fact that is a lie. It is a misrepresentation, a misinterpretation of the Quran and Sunnah. So Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman always tried to show that just because somebody makes a claim that the Quranic verse says something doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it's false, doesn't mean it's true. It has to be studied. It has to be looked at. It has to be discussed. It has to be part of the learning process. If our children go up in a school or a masjid or a home where the parents tell the child, you cannot ask questions, you have to accept Islam exactly the way you're taught, without any thinking, without any questioning, then this leads to major problems in the Muslim community, in our religion, in our culture. Whereas if the child is taught Islam in a way where they learn the verses and they're taught interpretations of the verses, but they should also be taught, according to Dr. Abdul Hamid, that the verse we don't question. We know this is from Allah. We know the Quran is revealed from Allah through the Prophet Muhammad and will not change till the rest of human history. But the interpretation is not from Allah, right? The interpretation is a human process. the scholars, they study different sciences, and then they try to interpret the verse. And so we can always question the interpretation, and we should question the interpretation, because this is a human telling us something, what they think God said. They don't have direct knowledge and direct connection to Allah, neither do we, so we can discuss anything they claim, especially when they claim things about our behavior. So in Arabic, we say mu'amalat. So we divide as Islamic civilization in terms of religion. In Islam, we have the rituals, right? The five main pillars: the prayer, the fasting, the poor do, the pilgrimage, the statement of faith. And then we have everything else. Okay? So everything else, the interactions between people with each other. So this is different than the rituals. The rituals we accept, and then if we have some questions, then we can talk about it. So somebody might say, well, Maghrib is not 3 rak'ahs, it's just 1 rak'ah. Well, they have to prove it. Where are you getting this idea from? How did you come up with this? Okay. Otherwise, you have to accept that it is 3 rak'ahs because that's what we learned from the Prophet Muhammad. But anything else, economics, politics, society, if somebody says, for example, as a Muslim, you cannot buy cryptocurrency, the burden of proof is on them, not on us. We are allowed to buy cryptocurrency unless it is clearly proven that Islam does not allow it. The person who makes the claim, the burden of proof is on them. They have to prove to you that in fact the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet and the understanding of Islam means that you are not able to do a certain thing like buying cryptocurrency. Okay, I don't know if any of you have studied this issue, but cryptocurrency is this new way of buying and selling things that is done through the internet, and it's becoming more and more popular, and it's helping a lot of people, especially poor people around the world. So I would like to finish up our discussion today by summarizing that Dr. Ismail Farouqi emphasized Islamic civilization, a return to Islamic civilization, and him and his wife, Dr. Lois Lamia Al-Farouqi, emphasized especially the arts, the culture, the painting, the music, the geometric patterns. These were an essential element of Islamic life and civilization. Dr. Taha Alwani emphasized the maqasid, the 5 basic goals of Sharia, and bringing together Muslims and Christians and Jews and others to have discussions and to have civilized dialogue with each other about issues that concern all of them. And Dr. Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman put a lot of emphasis on child upbringing, on parenting, on creating peace and harmony in the Muslim community. Any questions or thoughts or concerns or feedback? Okay, thank you so much for attending our class. I'm honored to be your teacher and professor, and we have a limited number of class sessions until the end of this trimester. I ask Allah for forgiveness if I have said anything wrong or made any mistakes, and I thank Allah for the ability to share with you what little knowledge I have, and what I am telling you is my opinion. I'm not claiming to be the sole person who knows the truth or understands the truth. This is a process that all of us are involved in. It's a lifelong process, and we try to gain insight from our scholars as much as possible. But also, as I said, we, as sociologists of religion and culture, we always question. We always dig deeper. We always try to find out. Just because something exists doesn't mean we have to accept it. Just because somebody tells you that this is what you have to wear, or this is what you have to eat, or this is what you have to say, doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it's false. It's something that, as a civilization, we discuss, debate, dialogue, and try to come up with what's best for people to serve Allah, to serve our Creator, to strengthen our faith, and also to succeed in the world that Allah has provided us with. May Allah bless you. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallah khairan, Professor. Have a wonderful weekend, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Prof, maybe I just